it might that might even take longer. And not only that, they are even the deployment time is even more than that. So like the deployment time is about 3 weeks, and that is quite a lot. So which means the robotic company would have to spend the engineers time and money to deploy these robots. So because of this, the adaptation of robots to the end users are quite low. So we analyze what are the challenges which these end users or the robotic companies are facing, and why the end user are reluctant to use robots. So first, it's a high downtime, which means when you are deploying these robots, or when the robotic companies go to the customer site deploy these robots, they take up a lot of time to do the deployment or the integration at the site, and their machines might be off. For that, they might be in a middle to change from manual to autonomous automation, and that takes a lot of time. Second is the cost of robots. These days, the service robots or industrial robots are costing them uh, uh, quite a significant amount initially. So that is which a lot of companies are not willing to spend at upfront. Then the thing is, the end users are having difficulties in operating these robots because the environment might change. They might have to call the robotic engineers to do the mapping again, to move the robot around again, to build a new map. And this is again causing them a lot of trouble, because if the map has changed, they cannot use those robots during that time. Then there are non-technical operators who, even if you give them training of how to do the mapping, the non-technical operators are not able to use that. So suppose if there's a janitor who wants to use a robot for cleaning industry, his or her requirement would be just to press a button like start or stop, and the robot should do the task. So for that, it has to be very friendly for them to use the system. Then it's a problem for tight spaces. What I mean by tight spaces is that some robots are not able to go on to those spaces. So basically, the customer wants 100% coverage, which means that even if the robot is able to do 95% of the area, it's not good enough for them. They still want the robot to do as much as it can. Another issue is that if an end user has already purchased a robot from one company, how can that robot be integrated with your robotic companies or by company B? So that is again challenging for them, that how do these robots talk to each other, because there is no single system where it's controlling both the robots together. And you might also might have faced these some issues. So if you could think of some of those issues, please share with us, so that if there is a solution, we can address that. Now, how do we address the issues which we just mentioned? In order to reduce your downtime, uh, make sure that everything is tested in house, which means the team would have to spend a lot of time doing the testing in house. And even if so if your customer environment is different, make sure you are able to recreate some of those environment in your lab or in your office, so that you can do the testing over there. So that is one of the solution which one of the companies we know has adopted. Then instead of doing a upfront selling, a lot of companies have adopted a monthly subscription cost. So they have divided the cost of the robot into 24 months, and the customers have to pay, excuse me, for each month rather than paying it upfront. So this uh, removes the barrier to entry for a lot of robotic companies. So this is something which you guys can try as well. Third is a user interface, giving the robotic companies the robotic companies giving the user interface to the end users. So the end users can simply use this to control the robot, to do the mapping from the user from a UI itself, or they can even have this UI for a start and stop for the non-technical operators. So if you are doing these things, the barrier to entry for these uh, would be reduced drastically. So let's talk about some of the companies or the customers we know, how they have adopted, and what are the challenges they are facing. So due to the huge surge in COVID-19 cases last year, there was an increased need for cleaning of the floors, and it's dangerous for humans to go into the hospital environment because there were so many cases. So, and then you still need sanitization and cleaning of those environment, and for that robots were the best solution because robots can go to the sites and then do the cleaning. So for this, the company gave their customer a very good user interface, and then the downtime was very less because instead of 3 weeks they were able to deploy these robots in 3 days. So that speaks of why the customers are more interested in buying their robots. So if you see, this company is based in Kuala Lumpur, Ideas Park, and if you see over here that even if there are obstacles, it can just avoid that autonomously and then can move around. Our next use case is for use by the BCA. BCA is Building Construction Authority of Singapore. They do inspection of a lot of sites once they have been completed. Now, again, because of restrictions, people couldn't go to the sites and for doing the inspection of the houses which have been completed. So they asked for a robot, and these people are inspecting officers. They are not technical people at all. They just want a robot which can just you press a button, it starts, and it goes around the house. It does the mapping by itself, and once the map of the house is built, you just start press a button called start inspection, and it start inspecting the house. So, and once the inspection is finished, the inspecting officer can just press a button saying that generate report, and it will generate a report. So this saves a huge amount of time. Instead of having multiple inspecting officer visiting the sites, you can have the robots doing these things. And the reason why the end user or BCA, Building Construction Authority, adopted this solution was because it was so easy to use with with just a start and stop button. So again, the barrier to market was reduced because of this, making this simplification. Another example is from a company which we worked is they are based in Europe, and again because of the increase in cases in different settings, they were different outlets. They were using UV disinfectant robots. So this disinfectant robots can kill the coronavirus in air. So they have started making this robot, and then they went to the customer. They did the demonstration, and the customers was very because of the user interface and the ease of use of this robot, the customer was able to get this was to able to give them an order of purchasing these robots immediately. So again, if you see that they are able to like do this navigation by itself, it can do the scanning, it can do the disinfectant as quickly as it is possible. So, and for a user, they just have to start and stop the button. So if you see that way, um all of these three cases, the most common factor was how they can address the problem or the barrier to entry for these end users. And for them, even though they had a robots of different types, the common thing which they did was to address the needs for the users, to make it easier for them to use rather than making the robot with more sophisticated with the with many things it can do. So that's more on what we have to share. Before I hand over to my colleague, I would this is a short introduction about the
Imagine the
company.
future life with robots where they're helping humans in multiple tasks, such as bringing them medicines or even providing them securities. And for this, the robots have to be robust, they have to be adaptable, and even agile. One of the biggest challenges in the robotic industry is that the robots are not able to move smoothly in a dynamically changing environment just like humans. The excitement to work on this challenge gave birth to Movel AI. Movel AI created the right AI based navigation software which makes it more affordable to the end users and more adaptable.
Our flagship product is called Sirius and combines different data from different sensors, making it suitable to work with any robots in any environments. It's okay if you have a limited budget, because our software makes your robot look like one with many sensors.
We're serious. We give autonomous robots the ability to seamlessly integrate into industry automation through the use of machine learning and sensor fusion. We hope to improve autonomous robots by making them better, smarter through our agile products.
At the heart of Movel AI are the people. I personally believe that if I take care of the people, they will take care of the company.
I like that everyone here has a collaborative mindset, and I'm glad to be able to influence the initial growth of this company.
The great thing about working at Movel AI is that colleagues are really nice and warm, and the best thing is that management is really open to listening to suggestions and ideas, and that really makes it great to work at Movel AI.
AVTech decided to invest in Movel AI because of its powerful and intelligent software, which complements our direction to diversify into robotic solutions. The software excels in navigation and object avoidance in tight spaces, easy to use and deploy, and offers fleet management and analytics, making robots smarter over time.
With our broad experience in multiple industries, speak to us today and find out how we can make your robots smarter and agile.
Yeah, that's it from my end. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thanks a lot, Abhishek, for your presentation. So that was Abhishek sharing with us from the software perspective. And right now we will hand over to Ms. Sherry Pan from LS LiDAR, who will be sharing with us from the hardware perspective. More specifically, she'll be talking more about LiDARs. So Sherry, over to you, please.
Hi, this is Sherry from LS LiDAR. So it's so proud of me to be invited by the Movel.ai to present my presentation today. So I'm going to talk about how to deploy the robot easily. So from the LiDAR side, we can see that the LiDAR technology in our life is just around our life. You can see more and more autonomy, machine and robotics and autonomous vehicles is just grow fast. Like the cleaning robot, like Xiaomi, like the autonomous vehicle, like the autonomous bus, and the AGV and autonomous forklift, and which is work with our life closely. We know, so why LiDARs? Actually, for the vision sensors, you can also know. We also know the camera and the LiDAR, and so the LiDAR can help the robotics to do the path creation and path planning and navigation and the anti-collisions. So the advantages of the LiDAR is about the parameter. It is more precise and easy to do the scan. It outputs the data points and the distance and the angle, and the reflectivity to help our engineer to do the SLAM algorithm by themselves. And it can adapt to different environments and work in the day and night time. As for the camera, the accuracy is around maybe 5 to 10 centimeters, and the VSLAM is also very hard to do. It will cost a lot of time for the deployment of the robotics navigation. And the camera cannot be work well in the nighttime. So the LiDAR technology is meaningful for the robotics. Yeah, here is the most popular two kinds of the measuring technology using the LiDAR. And one is the triangular method, and another one is the time-of-flight method. So the features is different. The triangular method, the accuracy is great in the short distance, but it is also great about the accuracy in the long distance. It's almost anti-glare ability, so it is mostly using in the indoor robotics, just like the consumer cleaning robots. And the time-of-flight LiDAR, is mostly using the AGV, the industry application, and the autonomous vehicle in the outside way. Actually, both in the indoor and outdoor environment. So the features is the distance accuracy is also keeping in the 3 centimeter, and the anti-glare ability is great. So before we thinking about what kind of LiDAR we're gonna to select for our robotics, we need to consider what kind of application for our robotics use. So, well, indoor or outdoor. So here you can see a lot of LiDAR sensor in the data sheet. It's mentioned there different, like you can see very popular in 795 nanometer and 905 nanometer lasers. So I place sunlight spectrum in the right side way. So you can see the 795 nanometer in the which occupied in the high rates of the sunlight, so it can be easily affected by the sunlight when your robotics when this kind of LiDAR working in the outdoor. So we are not suggest the outdoor robotics adopting this kind of LiDAR. And the 905, and another one is the 905 nanometer lasers. And you can see here in the red side way, the 905 nanometer just occupy very low rates in the sunlight spectrum, which is not so much easily affected by the sunlight. And from our technology, we can just make it with a great anti-glare effect. And another key features of the LiDAR is one is distance, and another one is the resolution and the accuracy and the scan rates. For the movable robotics, you need to you will be care about the path planning first. So the accuracy is very important in this part. You're gonna choose a LiDAR with a great accuracy to build your map, and then the LiDAR will help to do the anti-collision and navigation and path planning with your SLAM algorithms. Yeah. So here we place the the resolution is also important. Here we place the same object in in the 3D LiDAR version. This is the same object in 5 meter, 10 meter, and 50 meter. So you can see how is the density changes. So we also need to think about the resolution for your robotics and the real environment use. So we selected most of three popular LiDAR from the market and for the robotics. So the first one is the triangular LiDAR, and it is this is a 395 nanometer lasers. So, and this kind of LiDAR is the most popular one in the market, because you can see it all around your life in the cleaning robotics and the commercial robotics, just in your right side way. And this one is one of our Chinese robotics customer. They are making the delivery robotics in the entertainment places. So it can bring something like the alcohol, like the drink, and you can see it working in a very narrow path. So which is a very which can be used the triangular LiDARs. Yeah, it's very friendly for that. And this kind of LiDAR is compact with the low power consumption, and it's usually applied for the indoor application, and consumer and commercial robotics would like to use it. And the second one is popular in the industry level products, and most AGV using this kind of product, because the AGV is usually working in the large square meter factory, and it will require the LiDAR with great with IP level, with a stability quality. So and this kind of a 2D Timeofflight LiDAR is the great option for the AGV and the industry product to use. It can work in the both indoor and outdoor way. Yeah. And the second one is the new change. Is the change of the selection of the robotics. So maybe in the very few, maybe in the very earlier times, most like the autonomous forklift, they're using the 2D solution, like they are using the reflector solutions. But now they're more prefer to use the free slime solution for the robotics or forklift, because the free slime is can be applied for more complicated environments. Yeah, and which will be also increase the safety level of their robotics. And not only the robotics, the autonomous vehicle, last mile delivery, and the mapping system is usually use this kind of LiDARs. And here we show some of our user case, and which includes the outdoor robotics and the indoor robotics, and yeah, and the delivery bots. And most of them is adopting the 3D LiDAR, and this kind of LiDAR is working, and this page is what we take from the media, and the media reported then this kind of robotics is just working in anti the COVID-19. So it's just this kind of robotics did something for our human. This page, well, most of AGV is using the 2D LiDAR. They are using the 2D industry level product, Timeofflight LiDAR product. And the right one, and this is the new change. Yeah, just like we mentioned before, most forklift company, they're making their old, maybe their elder solution is by using the reflector in their industry 4.0 zero factory. But nowadays, the factory, different factory, they have different kind of environment. So the reflector solution is not so much great for all environment. As the freeze line is more that it can adapt to more environment. So, and this is a new trend. And actually, we can see a lot of Chinese forklift company have already done their R&D on this. So, yeah. So the LiDAR technology can bring the autonomous moving function, and can help save a lot of time of the deployment of the robotics project. Yeah, it can save a lot of time on the navigation and autonomy function, and which also can increase the safety level of your robotics. Yeah. So this is my presentation today. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sherry, for sharing. So, right now, we will now move on to the Q&A part. So, we had two submitted questions, so perhaps I can invite Abhishek to answer. That's okay? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Sherry, for the presentation. So one of the question is the first question which was asked is how the programming work and can adapt with the robots. So typically, when a robotic company is making a robot, there are different type of programming solutions to it. So there are different type of programming levels to it. First is a firmware program, which is writing the device drivers for your motors, writing device drivers for your sensors, could be cameras or lidars, and then pushing this device drivers into a processor where we put ROS. So ROS is robotic operating system. It is running on Ubuntu. So basically, you have a PC or an industrial system on the robot which is running Ubuntu. That Ubuntu is running ROS, and on the ROS you publish this data of your sensor data, and you even publish the motor drivers, encoders data, and how to control the motors over there. And that is where in ROS you write scripts to control the motors of the robot from the data you are receiving from the LiDARs or the sensors. So this script could be written in Python. Normally it's being written in Python, and then or either C++ you can compile it over there. The second question is, what kind of role does ROS play in these deployment scenarios? So ROS is open source operating system. About 80% of the world mobile robots are using ROS. So ROS is kind of, you see, if I want to put it as an analogy, is kind of a box where you put all the inputs and outputs to one box, and you put your codes into that. So that box is currently controlling all the sensors and controlling all the motors and getting data from different sensors. So ROS does plays an important role because there's a lot of development work going around in the world on ROS. So if you have got a new sensor, if you have purchased a new sensor, that you can simply install, and you would be able to find as device drivers for ROS online. Otherwise, if it is not ROS compatible system, you would have to write the device driver from scratch, and that might take a lot of time. So ROS in a way helps you reduce your time of development. So I hope I have answered these two questions correctly. If you have any other questions, either you can please put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, so if anybody here has any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type in chat, and then we can try to answer. So it's silent. Nobody's unmuting, and there are no questions. It looks like there are no questions. So with that, Abhishek, do you have anything else you would like to share?
No, I think if there are any no more questions uh, in the session, and if they have anything want to speak to us separately, they can reach out to us on email as well. And then if there is any query for relation, also we'll forward it to them. If there is any query for us, you can reach out to us. So you have Leishen's email ID, uh, and Sherry, can you please type down your email ID over here so that we can have it?
Actually, okay, after the session, I will be sharing the link to the recording for this, and then I will put down the contact details for both Mobile AI and also for LS LiDAR. Mm. Okay, then with that, thanks everyone. Thank you Abhishek and Sherry for your valuable information, and thanks everyone for your time for joining us today. I'll be sharing a recording of this session shortly. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Thanks everyone.